Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerCoaching.com, and today we're going to be answering a question that I get on what seems to be a daily basis. And the question is essentially something along the lines of short deck hold'em, pot limit Omaha, mixed games, whatever, is all the rage at my online site or in my local casino or among my friends at home. And I play a little bit of no limit hold'em, and I can maybe even win a little bit, but I often find myself bored with the game. So, should I spend significant time learning these other forms of poker? Basically, should you be a specialist and really focus on no limit hold'em, or should you try to play lots of other games and become a generalist? And the main question I think you need to ask yourself is, why do you actually play poker? Do you want to make money, or do you want to pass time? I actually have an article about this, about the three types of poker players. Essentially, there are players who play to socialize and pass time. There are players who play to push the boundaries of the game. And then there are players who play to make money. Which type are you? You're going to find that most people, the vast majority, actually don't care about making money. They play to pass time, but you can tell they play to pass time based on how much they study away from the table, how many hours they put in at the table, and generally how much of their life they devote to poker. If they devote an hour a week to poker, you're playing to pass time. I hate to break it to you. You are not taking the game seriously, and you should not expect to have great results. If you are devoting your life to poker and you're not having great results, you better figure out why. And I highly suggest you hire a coach, sign up to PokerCoaching.com, do something to fix what you are doing. Because if you are devoting your life to poker, 8 hours a day, every day, and you're not having good results, you're not doing it right. So, if you care about making money, it's very important that you play a game that has longevity and that also runs at stakes that give you a good win rate. One of my favorite stories that always sticks with me is from my first time I traveled out of the country to play poker. I must have been 20 years old. I went to Vienna, Austria, and someone at a party, a players party one night, was bragging about how he was the biggest winner at the six-handed pot limit Omaha sit and goes on party poker. I was like, all right, cool. Let me see what's going on with this game. Turns out, every day, six $30 buy-in games ran. And that was it. So if he's the biggest winner, and let's say he had a 50% return on investment, which is not possible, that means he's making a whopping $90 a day because he can only invest $180 a day. You do not want to devote your life to a skill that, at the most, is going to win you $90 a day. You can find significantly better options. I devoted all of my time learning poker when I first started to playing sit and goes. Why? Because I saw the high stakes, they ran consistently, right? And that allowed me to put in a lot of volume. A lot of volume will allow your bankroll to just slowly trickle up if you have a decent win rate, which I did. Now, if you don't care about making money, if you spent a little time thinking about this and you do play recreationally and you don't even care if you lose, do whatever you want, right? You are essentially a good gambler at the casino. And that's okay if that is what you want to do with your time. However, most people who come to me want to actually win, and they want to get on the fast track to success instead of having to beat their head against the wall and try to learn it all themselves. So for those people, I would ask them, what is the purpose of learning the new game? Like, why? Why do you want to learn this new game? If you're bored with No Limit Hold'em, figure out why. Maybe you're not actually that good of a student. If you're not that good of a student, find a different method to learn. I purposefully put out my training products on podcast, Audible, ebook, physical books, pokercoaching.com, YouTube, right? I put my content everywhere because I realize people learn in different ways. So if you don't like the way that you are currently studying the game, if that turns you off and you hate it, figure out a different way to learn. And I bet you'll find a way that works out okay. If you are bored with the game in general, maybe you need to mix it up. Maybe you need to play in a different game with different players. Maybe you need to play in a different venue. Maybe you need to play online as opposed to live, or live as opposed to online. Mix it up, because as long as you're not playing like literally all day, every day, it's kind of hard to get burnt out from the game. You may say, oh, I'm in a downswing and I don't want to play because I'm in a downswing. It's like, well, get over it. You have mental issues if you can't handle a downswing. And if you can't handle a downswing, gambling's not for you. because you're going to go on downswings inevitably at all gambling games. So, why do you want to learn a different game? Do you think no limit hold'em will die in the future? Whenever I first started playing poker, the first game I learned was actually limit hold'em. Back in the day, 16, 17 years ago, no limit hold'em was not all that big yet. So the options were 7-card stud or limit hold'em. Whenever you are first starting to play poker, by the way, I highly suggest you find a game that you actually enjoy. I did not enjoy 7-card stud, but I did enjoy limit hold'em. So I played limit hold'em. And I realized that it seemed like the games were a little bit bigger online, so I played the one that had the potential highest win rate, right? That was important to me. As an 18-year-old kid, I realized, hey, I'd like to make some money from this and not just pass time. So I realized at some point that limit hold'em was starting to decline. No limit hold'em was popping up. I didn't get into no limit hold'em because it was exciting. I got into no limit hold'em because the games were getting bigger and bigger, and it seemed like that's where poker was going. So do I think poker is going to short deck hold'em? And I would say no. I think it's going to be a game kind of like Pot Limit Omaha, maybe bigger, maybe smaller, I don't know. Certainly, there are plenty of Pot Limit Omaha pros who are doing great. But still, the main game is No Limit Texas Hold'em. And I don't expect that to change anytime in the near future. There are a few things people can do to ruin it, such as making these private or reserve seat games. I think that could kill the live cash games. They may make tournaments private. That could also hurt the tournaments. I don't know. You have to pay attention to what's going on in the poker economy, right? That said, they can do these reserve seat games with any game, so I'm not sure that's necessarily even all that relevant of an idea. That may just kill poker in general, which would be bad. But we'll see. We'll keep our eyes open. But right now, I think if I had to recommend anyone learn any game, it would be No Limit Texas Hold'em, because the variance is not through the roof, unlike PLO or Short Deck. And it's a game where you can always find a game. You can always be in action, and you can start off with a very tiny amount of money and grind your way to the top by putting in a lot of volume at all stakes, pretty much, up until you get to like 5 to no limit or higher. That's when live, at least, you start to run out of action at will. And then you just have to do a little bit more work to find games. You may say that I think a game like Short Deck or PLO is going to become the main game in the future. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. If it does, great, you'll have a little bit of experience. You'll be a few months ahead of everyone. But if it doesn't, you devoted a few months of your life to something that isn't going to be all that valuable. The person who sent in the question actually said, I see the big games in Asia are running a lot of Short Deck Hold'em. This is someone playing medium stakes to small stakes live in America. So like, that game cannot be farther from you. You're not going to be buying in for $1 million buy-in tournament anytime soon, and you're not going to Asia to play. So play a game that makes logical sense. You may say, oh, they spread it at my online site. Just because a game exists does not mean you have to play it. Every minute you take away from your main game where you make money is a minute that you lose, right? Imagine you can play Short Deck, let's say, and you can make $1 an hour. But if you can make $5 an hour at your regular game, you're making way less. And again, if you play for entertainment, that might be worth it, because maybe it's worth $4 an hour for you to get your excitement. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. My job, though, as a coach, is to teach you to make money and also enjoy your life. And you have to figure out what you want. One way I always found that worked great for me was to find your money tree. My money tree back in the day was 5, 10 no-limit cash games. I would go to Bellagio every day, grind out 5 to no limit, make $100 an hour, like clockwork. It was great. And that allowed me to spend a little bit of time every once in a while playing Pot Limit Omaha. I spent 6 months online playing 2 to 3 days a week, not huge stakes, like 50-cent dollar, $2, $4. And that gave me a lot of experience, to the point that I feel very comfortable in most PLO games. Same thing for a Limit Omaha 8 or better, deuce to 7 triple draw. I spent a decent amount of time getting proficient at the games in case they did happen to take off. I'd already be, okay at it. And it also gives me the ability to play those cash games if they look particularly soft, which doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while it does. But I don't suggest spending that time away from grinding up your bankroll until your bankroll is already quite large, which mine already was quite large. When I was making $100 an hour, I had, $1 million in the bank or something. And I did not need to make money on a consistent basis. Most people who ask me this question need to make money. They are working with a short bankroll, or they have a lot of bills, or something's happening that makes them need to win money. And if that's you, you need to find your money tree and get as much out of that money tree as you can while you can. And that's probably going to be for most people playing 1, 2, or 2, 5 no limit cash games at local casinos without high rake and games that are soft. Find those games, make your $20 to $50 an hour, and print your money. Do some math. What's $50 an hour times 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? Do some math. Figure it out right now. Multiply that by what? Let's call it 350 weeks a year. That's a lot of money. $50 an hour, 40 hours a week, 350. Sorry, did I say 350 weeks a year? 350. My brain is not working. Call it 46 weeks a year. It's a lot of money. And a lot of people just don't want the slow grind. They want to get rich quick. They want excitement. And I hate to break it to you, but excitement, emotional swings, variance are things that the pros want to avoid. So find one game you can beat and play it as much as you can. Print your money, be happy, and before you know it, you'll be right there at the top.